All right. Thank you very much for joining us back for part three. Once again, my name is Alan Andreas, host of Alan Ovation, and this is about roles and responsibilities that you may see within a project. And in this video, we're going to be talking about some of the technical roles and responsibilities you might see. So as we get into the technical side, this is going to be your architect here. I will also say this could be a technical architect. You may see it worded. A CTA is common here, but we'll kind of get into that in a moment. These people are going to be really overall technical architecture of the implementation. They're going to have, as you'll see in a moment, developers, admins, all the other kind of support, ServiceNow support personnel that are dealing with the platform configuration and such, report to them or kind of filter through them on the project. And they're going to be ensuring alignment with best leading practices, business requirements, things like that. The responsibilities here are solution design and technical leadership. So again, they're taking the roadmap, the plan, the solution document that came from the SC or the solution architect, and they're now starting to put it into context of what is this doing for me? What is this doing for the project? That in the current scope, that's what they're going to be doing. They're going to provide guidance on leading practices, as I kind of mentioned, scalability, performance. Hey, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't use glide record in a client script. Hey, you might want to consider a flow for that instead of using a business rule. Hey, you might want to do that over here versus over there. Things like that. The developer will also kind of do that stuff, but the architect is kind of more of the final say on things. So this is usually someone that's got 5 years plus of experience on the platform. And for the documentation, they're really going to be responsible for architecture diagrams and design specifications. So the architecture diagrams, as you can kind of imagine, those are visual representations of the system structure, how the infrastructure plays with another piece of it, including components, their interactions, to ensure a coherent and scalable design. This is all about, is the data model that we're kind of going with going to land us in good area territory on step 17? They have to kind of think well ahead into the future there. And then for design specifications, those are detailed design documents really describing the technical requirements, the configurations needed to kind of implement that architecture. So yes, they are still required to do some documentation there. The interactions are going to be your stakeholders, your PM, your developers, your BA, and this is going to be where their CSA, their CAD, they probably have some implementation certifications. As I mentioned earlier, this is going to be probably your CTA, or not really but in addition to that, TOGAF, which is the open group architecture framework. You're going to hear some of that as you kind of get into more senior positions there and learn about architecture. That's enterprise design. How do these things work and play well with other cloud infrastructure or their direct on-prem infrastructure as well. So then we have developer, and that's probably one that everybody kind of knows about the most, right? What is that role? What they do? They develop and customize the application and modules based on the requirements, coding, scripting, creating custom apps, doing integrations, troubleshooting, bug fixes, all that good stuff. They're going to be doing code documentation. They're going to be creating integration guides. That code documentation is really going to provide explanation and context for the code that was written. They should be doing this in the moment as they're doing these things, not something that they come up and think of afterwards. The purpose, it's going to talk about the functionality, how to use it, how to aid it in future maintenance, and how to do kind of enhancements for those integration guides, how to connect with the platform, including data flows, API usage. And again, this is to ensure seamless interoperability, right? How does that system work with ServiceNow? How do those things kind of coalesce or work together? The interactions here are architect, your BA, your QA. That's usually going to be kind of the realm here for that. They're going to be CSA certified application developer, otherwise known as CAD, and your implementation specialist certifications in various products. Highly recommended if you're on a project for HR or customer service management or IT or whatever, that you do try to get those implementation certifications for sure. The next up, we have your system admin. This is your CSA person. Again, look at that salary, not bad starting out. This is a couple years, this is probably about a 2-year in sysadmin here. They manage the day-to-day of the platform. A lot of people think, are they developers? Most likely, yes. Refer to one of my future videos on what to expect on being a new CSA, but they're mostly going to manage the day-to-day. They're going to be helping with upgrades, cloning, promotion of update sets, things like that. And we'll kind of talk through that, right? So we have system config, user management, platform health, platform health and performance, scheduling patches, upgrades, and configuration guides, right? And user manuals. So these are things like step-by-step instructions for setting up and managing the platform. What platform configuration happened through a system property or something that's global in nature. They're going to be trying to help kind of document those things and ensuring proper operation. For user manuals, they're going to be documenting what is the various features on the platform, how to assist end users in navigating the system, and kind of go from there. Some other interactions that are listed are going to be with your architect, your developer, your BA, the end users, IT support teams. So they're really kind of all over the place as far as helping out. Certifications are normally your CSA and your ITIL. Next up is an integration specialist. So I know we talked earlier that about a developer was doing integrations, but you may see an integration specialist while you're out there in the field with your projects. Not all companies have these, but we wanted to mention what you could see. These people manage the integration of ServiceNow with other applications. This is a neat role because they really specialize and streamline in integrations. They either work with Integration Hub spokes, those pre-built connectors. They're working with store apps. They're working with third-party apps. They're really kind of designing, developing, maintaining those integrations. They may end up having to code or create them from scratch, right? And the documentation that they're responsible for is all data flow diagrams, API docs. Those are going to be the visual map of how the data kind of flows from one app to another between the systems, helping everyone understand and optimize it. And then for API documentation, literally what API parameters are accepted, allowed, version 1, version 2, what are some of the bug fixes, all those types of things, endpoints, methods, data structures, things like that. And they're commonly going to work with architects, developers, and the external system owner. So not just your own team, but really the team from the client side. What other system, whether it's Workday, ADP, Concur, Atlassian for Jira, Confluence, whatever it may be, they're going to be working with these other stakeholders on these other teams. And so usually they're going to have certifications in CSA, CAD, and then Integration Hub micro certifications, right? So there's IH micro certifications that are out there that they'll probably be responsible for. And so we're still kind of moving into a little bit more of the technical side. This is going to be a portal developer. So again, another kind of I would say a fancy role that not everybody may see, but there are people that are portal developers. That's all they do. They focus on. One of the last companies I was with had a role that was just kind of portal aligned, and they specialize in developing and customizing service portals to include Employee Center. So not just the old school kind of service portal, but all of it. And they're really designing and building custom service portal pages, widgets, implementing the enhancements, responsiveness, all that kind of fun stuff here. And they're doing code documentation and user guides. So I won't kind of elaborate on those too much because we kind of understand that. But their interactions are going to be more commonly interacting with a UI UX designer, which we'll actually talk about that role in just a minute, with admin, BA, stakeholders, end users, usually CAD and CSA certified. They're going to have that micro cert in the service portal, and then web design, right? So they may have done Bootstrap or React or Angular or different types of languages out there. They're going to be big into web design and doing those things. The next role, again, is kind of a fancy role that you may not see everywhere, but I wanted to make you aware of it because you may actually come across it, is a UI UX designer. So this stands for User Interface User Experience Designer. This is somebody that's really big into making sure Is it accessible? Is it 508 compliant? Does it have all of the bells and whistles that really help the end users out? They are focused primarily on designing user interfaces and user experiences to ensure that this thing is absolutely intuitive, it's visually appealing, it's looking top notch, and they're going to be doing this by creating wireframes, mock-ups, and prototypes. So they won't go in and just do everything. They'll mock up wireframes and little small mock-ups and then show that as like an example of what the page could look like. They'll probably have a repository of a lot of different artifacts that they've made for other companies and clients to kind of show things roughly of what they've done before, what you can do. They're going to be conducting user research to really understand, what they're looking for. They're going to be working with the client for that, gathering feedback and improve the design of the platform, right? So style guides, client presentations, design review documents. And so for styling guide, it's really a comprehensive design document outlining like the visual interaction design principles, including typography, color schemes, iconography, all that stuff they're going to have in there. Client presentations, this is where they're going to really mock up, PowerPoint or some kind of PDF document, whatever that might be, to kind of show some of these things off. And then they're going to lastly be working on these design review documents. And that's just really layman's terms, a way to capture feedback and notes on things they presented. So they present the client presentation and then they kind of capture that feedback and go from there. They're primarily going to interact with portal developer if one is available, the developer themselves, a BA, stakeholders, and again, they're going to be certified in kind of UI, UX certifications and areas of focus, design tools, web design, things like that. So user research, how to capture that HCD, human-centered design, things like that. So that was a lot of information to go through from a technical perspective, but as you can see in our handy dandy project team structure org chart, that the technical team members do kind of fall in and report up through the architect in the context of a project, and that architect takes that information and then can kind of bring it up to the PM as needed. We've got one more part left. We're going to be talking about support roles, so join us for part 4.